Signori e signori, benvenuti in cucina. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to make Ragu Di Gamberetti. It's as easy to make as 1, 2, 3. Pasta Amatriciana with shrimp.
Insalata Del Sogno.
An unusual combination of ingredients that will just make you smile. And then a refreshing summer salad with watermelon and, bacon. And we'll answer an age-old question. What is better, bacon or pancetta? Come for the recipes. Stay for the story. There is bacon, there is pancetta. Bacon, pancetta. Bacon, pancetta. Which way do you go? You can go bacon, or you can go pancetta. As far as I'm concerned, it's like being surrounded by two beautiful women that would like to spend time with you. Bacon and pancetta, the perfect notes for the greatest of all culinary symphonies. Ragu Di Gamberetti. This is a fantastic entree that you can make especially for your dinner parties, especially if you're in love with bacon, shrimp, and red peppers. How difficult is it? It's so easy. How great does it taste? Fantastic. Let me show you how to make it. In the pan, we have the olive oil. To the olive oil, we're going to add a little bit of bacon. And I like this artisanal bacon because it's nice and thick. The bacon is going to brown, and as it browns, also going to release a lot of flavor into the olive oil. This flavor is quite important to us, so what I want to do, in spite of the fact that I started up the olive oil nice and hot, I want to reduce it until the bacon starts to pick up the color. One of the biggest problems that people have when I make a recipe similar to this and they add pork to something that's already simmering below is if they do such a thing, and they do it with a super hot olive oil. And what happens is that the pork will burn before it cooks through. The bacon is starting to pick up the color that we want. You can notice that it's slightly curling. Mind you, we do not want to have it very, very brown because we're gonna cook in this for quite some time. Let's go and add the other ingredients. First thing that I like to do is to add the garlic, nice and thick. Together with the garlic, I like to add a little bit of the asparagus. What I've done with the asparagus, I cut it in long pieces. Now at this point, I increase the heat just a little bit, and I wanna make sure that the asparagus picks up the flavor of the garlic, picks up the juices that are being released from the bacon. And this at this point that it's very important for you to realize that the best bacon to use is artisanal bacon. I find bacon like this has a nice chew to it, and you'll see a much better it tastes at the end with all the other ingredients that we add. Notice so far I've added no salt and no pepper. When it comes to this, I like to do the addition of salt and pepper at the end. The next thing I like to do is to add a little bit of red peppers, red bell pepper, and I cut them small like this because I want it to be a flicker of color that comes in. But this is not the star of the show, no. The star of the show is I gamberetti. What does gamberetti mean by itself? Gamberetti means tiny shrimp. Instead, I've taken a big shrimp. And what I've done with this big shrimp, I cut it in 3 pieces, giving to the shrimp the same shape of smaller shrimps. But why do I prefer using a bigger shrimp? The big shrimp will have the ability of cooking and withstand the braising process we're going to put it through. And by cutting the shrimp this big, we protect the tenderness of the shrimp. The next thing that I want to do is the glaze with a little bit of wine. You can use any kind of white wine. My father, whenever he used to make a dish similar to this, he liked to put some sparkling wine in. You want to cook it until most of the wine evaporates. The sequence of the ingredients as we add it is extremely important. The ingredients that take the longest time, the garlic and the asparagus, in this particular case, are the ones that really do need a certain amount. I also like for my asparagus to have a certain crunchiness. If you don't like your asparagus crunchy, what you can do before you cut it the way that I have, you can actually peel it. And by peeling the asparagus, you reveal the tender inner of it, and it cooks in almost a third of the time. Everything is coming to the perfect color. Now we are ready to add our secret weapon, butter. Why? Several reasons. I like for the butter to mellow all the flavors together. Also, what I like is that the butter gives me this wonderful sauce-like finish. And once this cools off just a little bit, after the butter has properly melted, one of the things that you will notice is, and I like to use this technique, is that the butter thickens up the sauce a little bit more, still maintaining a wonderful shine over all the ingredients in it. Well, this is just about done. I'm gonna turn this off, and now we're ready to plate it. Ragu di Gamberetti, mamma mia che bontà. And when you see them on the plate, this is where it gets really spectacular. I like to pile it up at the bottom just like this. This is something where by yourself, you can pretty much finish a whole loaf of bread. You say, Nick, loaf of bread, where's the sauce? You're talking too fast. Let me show you what the sauce is at. And this is what I love to do with the sauce. I love to bathe it all the way around. And now you understand why is that I love the butter so much. A little bit more sauce just to cover the top, make it all moist and beautiful. Always serve some extra sauce on the side because the sauce is a spectacular addition to this dish, and it's the natural sauce that comes with the dish itself. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you make Ragu di Gamberetti. Pancetta is, at the end, basically the same thing that bacon is, but done Italian style, with a heavy input of many, many spices that it is smoked or they basically left to hang and season for quite a long time. So the pancetta itself has a spectacular flavor. But pancetta is what you need to make pasta alla matriciana. Pancetta is what you need to make pasta alla carbonara. Pancetta has a higher fat content that pops into your mouth every time you crunch it right between the upper molar and the lower molar. And then these juices start to navigate inside your tongue and you go, oh God, it's so beautiful to be alive. Shrimp amatriciana with pasta. What is amatriciana? Amatriciana is a Roman word, which means from the town of Matricia. Pasta amatriciana is known all over Italy for the fact that it's made with pancetta. This particular dish of shrimp and pancetta is a unique combination. The only thing that I've done somewhat different is the usage of white wine instead of the typical red wine that you use for making matriciana. But what makes this dish amazing is the marriage between the shrimp and the pancetta, a marriage made in heaven. And I want to show you exactly how to make a dish that will forever be etched in your memory as the best thing you've ever done. The oil, extra virgin olive oil, is getting nice and hot. To the oil, what I like to do is to add the pancetta. Why? The pancetta needs to brown, and as the pancetta will brown, will release a lot of its flavor into the olive oil. The pancetta is Italian-style bacon, but it's treated in a completely different way. What Italians do with the pancetta, primarily, they season it with salt, pepper, onion powder, oregano, and then they let it cure for quite a long time. And during the period of time, the flesh of the pancetta is imbued, including the fat, with all this astonishing flavor. By itself, pancetta tends to be on the salty side, so you will notice that all throughout, I don't add a great deal of salt to the dish, because the pancetta right now, as it's reducing, as it's frying into the olive oil, is rendering not only its own fat into the olive oil, but also giving all of these flavors to it. Pancetta is nice and brown. At this point, what I want to do is to move the cooked pancetta away from the pan. In the same oil in which we have cooked the pancetta, we're going to add the shrimp. The shrimp is going to fry into this oil, and there are many things that are very important. The shrimp itself will release its own juices into the olive oil. Why is that important? It's going to give to the oil another additional layer of flavor. As the shrimp cooks, we do not want to cook the shrimp all the way through. Primarily, what we intend to do is to actually cook the shrimp enough so that it's still raw somewhat on the inside, because we are going to be taking the shrimp out, and then we'll reintroduce the shrimp into the sauce. As soon as the shrimp turns pink on one side, turn it onto the other side. Do you need to do it one at a time? You really don't. So why am I doing it? Well, for some people, cooking is a necessity. For me, cooking is a work of love. And it keeps me connected to the shrimp, to what's happening. It makes me feel almost as if I'm an extension of the recipe itself. Is that gonna make you a better chef? I don't know, but it works for me. Now it's time for us to take the shrimp out. You can see all the layers of flavors that are left behind into the oil. All those colors are all these ingredients already which have cooked in there. And they're splendid and fantastic. With the oil that's left in the pan, first we add a little bit of red pepper flakes, just to give it some extra heat. And now we go with the other important ingredients, which are the base. A little bit of garlic, nice and thick. Onions. I like to use red onions because they have a lot more flavor for me. At this point, I like to add the pancetta back into the pan. The pancetta is cooked almost all the way through. There's a slight bit of crispness to it that I love. To give it some extra flavor, I like to fry some parsley in it. And then in the original Amatriciana sauce, you use red wine. However, when I cook with shrimp and I make the shrimp alla Amatriciana, I like to do a little deglazing with a little bit of white wine. On high heat, you want to reduce this down until it reaches almost a glaze-like consistency. In the glazing that we do, you want to dislodge any brown bits that might have stuck at the bottom of the pan. Even if you use a non-stick pan, there's always something of a layer of flavor that's attached to the bottom. This way, you detach it and you reincorporate it once again into the sauce, achieving the wonderful flavor that really makes a huge difference. Here we go now with our final ingredients. Chicken stock and tomato sauce. If you don't want to use chicken stock, one of the things that you can do instead of using the chicken stock is to actually using the water in which the pasta is cooked. Now I'm going to lower the heat down to a basic simmer, and while the sauce is cooking, I'm going to add the shrimp so that the shrimp finishes cooking right into the sauce, giving to the sauce this wonderful final glazing, its flavor, exactly the way we would like to have it. Now, I am ready to add the pasta, but I would like to share with you one more secret that you need to be aware of. What I like to do is to undercook the pasta at al dente-like condition, but even a little bit rawer than al dente. What does it mean? Al dente, translated from Italian, means to the bite. But my idea is to finish the cooking of the pasta not in the water, rather into the sauce. Let me show you what I mean. You can use any kind of pasta you want, short or long, it doesn't make a difference, whatever is fun for you to eat. For me, today, the pasta is rigatoni. They remind me of my youth every time we used to go through the region of Lazio, in which the town of Rome is. Rigatoni was served in just about every restaurant and was for us great joy to have it. Now, you want to cook this pasta into the sauce until most of the sauce is absorbed. And the difference that this technique makes is significant. Imagine the pasta, if you would, as a very tightly wound coil with many layers to it. And as the pasta cooks into the sauce penetrates layer by layer by layer down to the very core of the pasta. You can see the sauce lessening and lessening always more because most of it already has penetrated inside the pasta. The shrimp is perfectly cooked. And what I love about this moment right here, you can see how the pasta is changing color right in front of you. You can see the pasta and the sauce have become one. And that is a signature of perfection. We got everything that we want. Ready to plate it now. Let me show you how. What I like to do when I serve a pasta like this is to make many layers so that the shrimps are not just on top, rather they're buried underneath the pieces of pasta. And when you dive right into it, to feel that. And the thing that makes this particular pasta very interesting is also the presence of the pancetta. Let me tell you, this is going to be one of those pastas that your family will ask for it over and over and over again. What makes this pasta great? To me, what makes this pasta great is the passion that you place into it. Because life without passion doesn't taste like anything. When these two ingredients are used in any sauce, in soups, in sandwiches, or whichever other way you would like to use them in. I can use them in just about everything. I could imagine to actually make a dessert out of bacon. Actually, bacon and chocolate. You should try this sometime. A nice crispy bacon bit, dip it in some melted chocolate, let it harden up, and I'm telling you, I know it sounds gross, but it counts for at least 5 pounds of my body weight. Don't do that with pancetta. Pancetta is too strong. Pancetta doesn't like to mess around. Pancetta is very like Italian style, wants to pick up fights with everybody.
Insalata del Sogno.
This is one of my favorite salads. What makes it unique? We have pancetta, we have blue cheese, parmigiano, a wonderful, simple, easy dressing made simply of vinegar, a touch of sugar, an extra virgin olive oil, and homemade croutons to make this salad, from now on, your favorite salad. Let me show you how we make the croutons. This is the oil that was left over after we cooked the pancetta. Why do we use this oil? This oil is totally full of flavor. The salt, the pepper, even the greasiness of the pork fat is so, how could I say, fascinating with a character of its own. Let me show you a couple of more things that we need to do to make these croutons just perfect. This is bread that I had around the house. It was potato bread with some cheese in it. And I want you to notice several things. Precisely, I want you to notice these little bits that are frayed away. They're gonna be great because once they dry up in the oven, they're gonna have this wonderful crunchiness. So the first thing that we do, we mix this very attentively to make sure that the bread picks up most of the oil in which it was bathed in. What I like to do at this point is to add plenty of Parmesan cheese. You can do pecorino cheese or any other type of grated cheese that you would like. The next thing that we're going to do, we're gonna put it right on top of the tray and we're gonna spread it just like this. You wanna give it enough space, just like this, because we're going to dry it in the oven. More often than not, people prepare the dressing ahead of time and then they add it to the salad. In this particular case, I wanna show you an old-fashioned way of making it, which my mom, my dad, my aunts, my cousin used to do it. First to put the salad into the bowl and then to dress it while it's there. Let me show you. This is the part that's most important. Do follow the recipe to understand the amount of salad and the amount of liquids that you want to put in terms of what the dressing is. But use your mind, your imagination, your eyes to paint this painting that you want. So you need to realize that in a single serving salad that I'm making, just a little shot of the vinegar will be enough. And then the extra virgin olive oil. When you add it, your focus is to coat the salad so that it glistens. And there we are. Just about, we have everything we want. At this point, what I like to add is the finished croutons that we've taken out of the oven. Oh, voila, there you are. Now, when you make the salad, I find that an optional sprinkling of sugar instead of salt adds to the salad an interesting reward. Let's plate the salad and let's make it pop. Plating the salad is like telling a story. So what I like to do is start with the bottom layer. On this layer, what I want to do is add some more of the flavors. Do you remember the crunchies that I told you before? This is an excellent time to add some of those. Then together with that, I always like to add a little bit more cheese. I want you to imagine, as we're doing this, that every layer that the salad has secret packets of flavors hidden in there. And here we go with a little bit of the pancetta, just like there. The hands, and the reason why I use the hands instead of another instrument is because the hands are the best tools that we have. There is no metal tool, no plastic tool that's better than the hands. When you get to this level, this is enough for a single serving. It is at this point that you want the eye to have its due, and that is by adding all these elements that I find super sexy about the salad. The pancetta is one of them, but the blue cheese, the crumbled blue cheese that breaks and goes right into what we want with every bite is the one addition that I love. And then the homemade croutons. And here is at this point, you want to strategically plate them so there is crouton just about everywhere. And whatever pancetta is left, this is the point where you want to add it. And you want to add it with care. You want to make sure that this plate of salad, as it goes to the person who's intended for, when they look at it, they fall in love with it the same way that you do. This is no longer a salad. This is no longer just a dish. This is poetry. This is romance. And this is how you make salad with pancetta and blue cheese. Is there a possibility of having too much bacon in a recipe? Well, you ask someone else, maybe they'll say, yes, it is. You ask me, it is not. To me, if I could get a blazer made out of bacon, I would. I would because I love the smell of bacon. To me, bacon is God's gift to man. If you never had it before, watermelon is a salad. It's a fantastic combination, especially in summertime. When you put a little magic of bacon, it makes life even that much more interesting. Let me show you how to make it. First thing we want to do is add our beautiful watermelon. What I've done, as you can see, I cut it in cubes. Why in cubes? I think it's easier to handle with a fork. If you have a different shape in mind, it's not a problem. Go ahead and do whatever you like. To the crunchiness of the watermelon, I like to add a little bit of the cucumber, which I've also cut in small cubes. Next, we're going to add a little bit of our tomatoes. Those are cherry tomatoes, and I've cut them in half. Why? You can use any kind of tomato you want, really. But the reason why I'm using cherry tomatoes is because the thing that makes it work for me is that I'm able to basically almost cut them the same size as everything else. The last thing that we're going to add, and it's very important to us, is onions. These red onions have marinated in a little bit of water and vinegar. Why? As I add the onions, let me explain that to you. One of the things that I have with onions is that I love the flavor of them. Unfortunately, raw onions, they're fairly difficult to digest. What I like to do when I do it this way is that the onions allow to basically marinate in the water and the vinegar, and they release a lot of the harshness. Actually, they become sweet, they become tender, still maintaining a certain amount of crunchiness, but they're so much easier to digest. As all the ingredients are sitting down, the one thing that I like to do at this point first is to add a little bit of sugar. Why? Well, there are very reasons as to why. The most important one is that Mother Nature does its job, but if you buy, for example, the watermelon in early summer, it will not be as sweet as the watermelon that you have toward the end of summer. Also, what I find is that the watermelon does extremely well with the addition of sugar. But there's another addition that I find truly fascinating, and that is sea salt. Sea salt and sugar, even though they're two opposite, within the context of the salad, open up two different avenues within the same context of the same path. It's almost impossible to envision. But if you're after Einstein theory of relativity, if you do believe in the fact that time can be bent, trust me when I tell you, this is a small bent of perception that ultimately brings a flavor which is absolutely spectacular. At this point, what I like to do is just to mix all the ingredients so they become good friends. Another ingredient that needs to be added this early at this stage is the addition of pepper. I like to have black pepper, and I like to have it somewhat coarsely ground. Why coarsely ground? I like to feel the pepper popping as a flavor. I find that if it's white pepper or if it's very nicely done, very finely, it does not bring out the pop that you want. One last addition that we're going to make to this in terms of the raw ingredients is feta cheese. You can use any kind of feta cheese that you want, crumble or not. This is a good quality feta that usually comes packed in a brand of its own, and what I've done with this, I've cut it in cubes. Why? Because it's pretty this way. I know, it's almost shameful to see it that way. Now, the salad is almost there for us. So what do we do next? Well, the next thing that I like to do is to add a little bit of the balsamic vinegar. And you will notice that I use it as a drip point all the way through. And together with the balsamic vinegar, extra virgin olive oil. For a moment, I would like for you to think, when it comes to it, choose the best extra virgin olive oil that you can put your hands on. Why? Extra virgin olive oil by nature, especially in this particular case, is very strong. It has a flavor of its own. And you really need to decide what is the flavor that you want to bring into this particular salad. How does it taste? You know, what we have down in Sicily is very strong, aggressive, it is fruity, it really tastes like olive, it's spicy in a certain way. If you go further up north, Rome, the Lazio area, if you go even further up north, in Tuscany, for example, the olive oils are excellent, but they're very held back, very elegant, very luxurious. Depends on what it is that you like, go with that. Now, a little bit more of a mixing all together. The elements are here, ready for us. So one last thing that I want to do at this point is an addition of green and an addition of true salad. What are we going to use? You can use any kind of salad that you want. I find that rucola, because of its aggressive taste, this natural pepperiness that it has to it, makes a wonderful combination to it. Plus, it mixes extremely well with all of the other ingredients. So here we are. We're putting it all together. You want to let this marinate in here for nothing more than just a couple of minutes. This is not something that you want to serve completely marinated. Otherwise, the salad, the green salad that we just had, will be wilted. And now, we're ready to plate. Plating the salad is like creating a little universe of its own. And this is what I love to do with it. I like to place it on top, and then intermittently, I like to add a few leaves of rucola that have not been yet dressed into the salad. The reason why is because I want a little bit of extra crunchiness and the lively, beautiful coloring that they bring. And here we are. This is what I consider to be one of my favorite salads, especially in summertime when the weather is really, really hot, and something that is this crunchy, this fresh, really brings a little bit of repose. The touch that makes the salad spectacular is about to come now, and that is the bacon that we cooked ahead of time. I like not to mix it inside the salad, rather to put it right on top, because it is this bacon now that's going to give you this wonderful saltiness, this wonderful bit of flesh with the biting of the fruit that you have, the biting of the salad that you have, and especially when you get into a little piece of the feta cheese, because it has this texture that sets it apart. And this is how you make watermelon salad, tomato, and bacon. Bacon, pancetta. Bacon, pancetta. The question remains. I still don't know the answer.
Yeah, let's hold for this guy.
Hold for plain. Hold for plain.
Plain.
A lot more planes today.
Dude, it's like, what's your next?
Well, maybe Tuesday is, I have no idea. I didn't expect it. I love bacon. Even with the plane overhead, I love bacon.